We have a couple of medals to speak about in Tokyo as Bryan Levell and Shericka Jackson picked up the bronze medals. And Noah Lyles and Melissa Jefferson Wooden also won one gold. But, we'll go into details a little bit later on. So much more to talk about on this episode of the Sports Club podcast here at the Jamaica Observer. It's powered by Jane Bank. I'm Donald Oliver. It starts right now. Hello and welcome to the Sports Club podcast. My name is Donald Oliver. We have so much to talk about. We're talking about a couple of bronze medals for Jamaica. And yes, we are grateful, but we're kind of looking on and say, could it have been more? Maybe. Well, my A-team here with me to discuss all things track and field at the World Championships. Of course, Leighton Levy, closest to me. Leighton, well, go on.
Good to be back again,
Yeah.
Donald. I mean, I'm really, really proud of Bryan Levell today.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get the silver I predicted he would have won, but I'm very proud of the performance. A personal best and a bronze medal in his first global championship. What more could he ask for? Yeah, we could have gotten silver or gold, but right now is probably not the time. But certainly there is a very bright future ahead for this young man. And of course, kudos to Shericka Jackson, not able to defend her title, but credible performance. And I think given the season that she's had, I think she'd probably walk away with a bronze medal feeling happy or happier than the fact that she did not medal in Paris last year.
Well, the rose among the thorns and Donald. Shoshana McGowan is here. How are you doing?
Good morning. Happy to be back. I thought day 7, went according to plan. Would have been icing on the cake had Jordan Scott gotten onto the podium in the men's triple jump, which was a fantastic competition, by the way. But 2 bronze medal, which I anticipated based on the season both would have had. Bryan Levell, only 21 years old, and like I said, going up against world and Olympic champions or seasoned campaigners. Despite how good he looked and was running, I knew it would have been a tough task to walk away with the gold, but I had him on the podium, silver or bronze, and he's a bronze medalist for me with Shericka. Same thing, considering all things from last season into this one. And like I said, the icing on the cake for me would have been 2 things. Jordan Scott getting onto the podium, and had Natoya Gould been able to get to the final of that women's 800 meters.
Daniel Blake is also here. Of course, I keep ribbing him about the medal predictions and all that jazz, but we're now at 8. And the question is how many more we'll be able to get before the end of these championships. Daniel, you're still optimistic, aren't you?
No, I've never been optimistic. I've been practical. So everything that happens now is just bonus for me.
It is bonus.
Yes, and it's a great day, especially knowing the history of what has happened. Bryan Levell getting that bronze. It's the first time in quite a while that we've seen a Jamaican man on the podium in the 200 meters. Shericka Jackson, knowing all that she has been through, to just miss out on the silver medal, I don't think she should be too disappointed. Jordan, just unfortunate that he didn't get the rhythm that he needed and that some other men just decided to show up big. But I think that today was a very good day. I wouldn't say it was an amazing day, but I don't think that we can be too disappointed with anything that has happened, knowing that we've added to our medal count.
What makes it an amazing day for you?
If we got 2 gold.
Okay. So you're the typical Jamaican.
No,
Which is fine. No, it's fine.
No, that's not typical Jamaican.
It's typical.
I think that's why we have various descriptive words. Amazing and very amazing has to be better than very good. If you look amazing, it's different from if you look very good.
I get Shericka. I mean,
I get to your point, Daniel. I not
Trisha's
disagree with
point.
you, But you are a typical Jamaican. If you're not hanging the gold, they don't think it's an amazing day. You have to
But
factor
it's a
things
very
in.
good day.
No, but
we're making it look like very good is a bad descriptive word. It's very good.
What is interesting
very
is that
good.
we're going into semantics here, because amazing, to be honest, Daniel, you're right. Amazing is amazing. There's no way you can describe a couple of bronze medals as amazing. I mean, because if we win 3 golds, what are you going to be calling that day?
No, but look.
What Oblique and Kishane did was amazing.
In context of
maybe even what Tyler Mason and Orlando Bennett did was amazing in the context of them winning 2 medals that we didn't expect in the hurdles.
So you don't think that a youngster in his first global championship going up against one of the fastest men in history?
No, what he did was amazing. We're talking about the day for Jamaica in track and
But
field.
we never have nobody else to compete other than him and Shericka.
Yeah.
And she was injured and out last season.
And that's why
I have
it's
no
very
problem,
good.
But hold on. I have no problem with what he said. I just asked the question, what is context of amazing?
What would constitute amazing?
Right? And
Yeah.
he's the
Okay.
he gave the typical Jamaican response, which would be gold medals, and it's fine. I just wanted to know.
I wouldn't say it's a Jamaican response.
It is. It is. If Jamaicans are not getting gold medals,
English language response.
Here's the thing: if there were 2 gold medals, it would not be amazing. It would be incredible.
Oh, gee. You know what? He's all right. It's that time of the show now. We're going to be joining Andre Lowe from Tokyo. Andre, let's talk about what Bryan Levell did, because it was amazing what he did in that 200-meter final in clocking a personal best time.
Hey man, thank you, Donald, and welcome back to Tokyo. Yeah, Bryan Levell, I mean, what more could we ask for from him, right? Competing in his first World Championships final, what did he do? Went out there, ran a personal best. 1964, of course, makes him the 3rd fastest Jamaican behind Usain Bolt and, of course, Johan Blake. And, it really takes a special kind of athlete to go out on this stage, the first experience at this level, and do what he did, right? A very big run from him. My concern was, how would he react when Noah and Benarek and Tibogo, who we heard wasn't doing too well physically, but it looked pretty good out there. But the concern for Levell, for me and quite a few others, was how would he react when these guys run up on him, right? And I think he did very well, actually came off the turn very well. Was in a good position. Benarek to his right, Noah to his left, came very close and eventually passed him and stuff. But I think he did very well to hold his composure, power through to the line and deliver that bronze medal. So very impressive run. It augurs well for his future. Yeah, he shows that he showed here that he's a real competitor, and everybody, all of the other athletes have said nothing but positives about him. That he's a real deal. He came here, 1908, 1907, 1906. Brilliant 3 rounds from Bryan Levell, and I'm really excited to see, in terms of his performances, what the future holds.
Yeah, on the women's side, of course, Shericka Jackson won the bronze medal. I guess an argument could have been made that silver was there for the taking. What are your thoughts, Andre?
Yeah, really proud of Shericka, really happy for Shericka. In truth, that's a really, really good run from her. That was a really impressive medal for her. In the context of what she has had to go through, not just this season, but also last year. Remember, she was not able to actually compete at the Olympics because of those hamstring and quad issues that she had. She mentioned a double quad pull and a hamstring pull that has really, really derailed her season, affected her preparation. And when you look back at all of that, it's really impressive of her to be able to come back here at this stage again and produce this medal. Now, on paper, you would think coming into this race, Melissa, Shericka, and whoever else. Amy Hunt, not well known, but she did have her moment of fame back when she was a teenager, I think, and has been doing pretty decently on the circuit as well. But Shericka, when I spoke to her after the race and in the press conference as well, she made it very clear. This medal is a very, very special medal to her. Just 1 gold medal and 1 other medals or whatever, but this particular medal she felt very, very strongly about because of what she has had to endure. In fact, she says she has a nickname for it. She's going to call it Faithful because she has had to be very faithful this year on the back of, again, everything that she has had to go through. So she also mentioned, post 100 meters, what she was dealing with. It was a very emotional time for her. She was crying a lot. because she really wanted to get on that podium in the 100 meters. It took her a moment, she said, to recognize just what she had accomplished, all things considered. And then, she started patting herself on the back, because to run 10:88, missing a lot of training and a lot of preparation and a lot of competition, she said, really spoke to her resilience. And, she's very proud of the efforts that she put in here, especially in the 100 meters and again in the 200 meters. Now, she's really looking forward to the 4x1s. She's in a much better place emotionally. And like I said, she's very proud of this medal. And I think that, we too should be very proud, given what she was able to overcome here in Tokyo.
Yeah, and for Jordan Scott, of course, he just missed out on a medal, which would have been Jamaica's first in the triple jump at the Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, disappointment for Jordan, but certainly a learning experience, and one that's going to help him a lot in the future, right? Wasn't able to show his best tonight. 17.2, way off his personal best, 17.52, I believe, which would have gotten him bronze in what was a really, really exciting men's triple jump final competition. But yeah, certainly said he was disappointed, looked disappointed, but made it very clear that, he's focusing on the positives. He's going to take this experience and he's going to be better for it in the future. And I certainly think so. He's a pretty positive young man, a pretty positive athlete, and someone who certainly is at the beginning of what we hope will be a long and successful career. So, all in all, a positive outing for Jordan, got into the final, has had a very good season, and it's now for him to, take what he can from this and apply it going forward.
All right, brother. Thanks again. We'll catch up same time, same place tomorrow. See you then.
All right, Donald, no problem. Big up to the people. Other work, so always a pleasure talking to you guys. All the best. Continue doing the great work you guys are doing, and we'll talk tomorrow.
All right, so Leighton, Bryan Levell and what he did with that personal best clocking, could you put into context his performance against the best runners in the last few years?
Yeah, and Nola is one of the greatest of all time now with 4 consecutive 200-meter world titles. When you have a youngster who's never been at this level before, coming in against Noah Lyles, the Olympic champion Leslie Tobogo, and of course Kenny Bednarek, to compete with such calm, such control, he never yielded. He didn't fold. Look, when you look at the relative experience between him and the other 3, coming off the curve ahead, them joining him about 50 meters from the tape, and running shoulder to shoulder with all 3, he could have easily have folded.
Could have cracked.
Easily have folded, and he did not. Held his own, ran a big PB, 19.64, further cementing his legacy as one of Jamaica's best 200-meter runners, and ending with a bronze medal, leaving the Olympic champion behind in 4th. You can't ask for a better performance except for probably winning gold or silver, which under these current circumstances was unlikely. But the composure with which he performed at these championships, 1984, 1978, and 1964, Bryan Levell has arrived. He's not at the top yet, but when you're looking at the projection of where he could be in a couple of years, it's not that far off from being among the very best of all time. Because in 2 years, he'll be 23 at the World Championships in Beijing, in China. Does he go in, providing that everything else, falls into place and he's not injured or anything, and progresses linearly, along those lines the next 2 years, he could very well go into 2027 as a gold medal favorite, not just a medal favorite. So the performance today for me was significant in that he demonstrated the qualities that you need to be able to excel at this level. Composure, maintaining your pace, and not being intimidated by the occasion. And I think, for me, he gets an A.
I mean, when you look at the 21 years old, 1964, a personal best, and he was not leading by far once he came off that curve, which I knew he would have been in a bit of a problem because of that. Because the heats and the semifinals, which was, you're more in control of that. Got out quickly, got off the shoulders of those in front of him. Kenny, of course, a credible athlete. He finished second today. He was just right there, barely ahead of Kenny, just barely. Would not have been enough. He then, became sandwiched by both Americans. He's not blind. He would have seen Tobago in his pretty blue shirt somewhere. And again, I agree with Leighton about him not panicking, just holding his composure at 21 years old, surrounded by Olympic and previous Olympians and world champions. And I think that, for me, I couldn't ask for more. I'm not surprised about the medal. I had him on the podium going in. So for me, it didn't matter the color medal. Had he won the gold, of course, that would have been great for him and Coach Osborne. But I think he, based on the performance in terms of the consistency of times that we have seen this year and throughout the 3 rounds of the championships, I think that as well as knowing how well he is in the 100 meters and can only get better, I believe that, he's looking good for the future again, without the major injuries or anything to have any major setback, I think, with their preparations. I'm really pleased, really, really pleased. I'm really happy that he was able to walk away with a medal. Coming in, people spoke about him. People spoke about him because it was worth talking about. But I don't think many even thought he maybe could have medal. Following the heats and the semifinals, I think that's when people were like, yo, him look promising, maybe can get the gold, which I figured, of course, would have been a huge task for him ahead of Tobago, Kenny, and also Noah. Noah talk a lot. He talks a lot.
But he backs
But
it
his talent is bigger than even a lot of the talks that he has. And that's him talk back him action on the track, match up the talks that him have.
Yeah, man,
and that's
he backs
just the
it up,
truth.
which is one of the reasons why people might not like him.
Which is fine.
But one of the things about Nola is that you have to come to accept, is that he talks the talk and he walks the walk. 4 world titles matches Usain Bolt. The reality is that Nola he might not ever get to Usain Bolt's world record, but it does not take away the fact that he's probably will go down as one of the best 200-meter runners in history because he backs it up. He says he's going to do it, and he does it. We talked about this yesterday. And you're mentioning about whether or not he will be able to repeat.
No, I said he will not go faster.
Well, okay.
And I was
that's
right.
what you did
And I
say.
do owe you
By
a
the
lot
way.
for that. But the reality is that he backed it up. He backed up the time, 19.51, 19.52. He was within what he produced yesterday. Many people were wondering whether or not he would be able to repeat.
Yeah.
He answered that question as well.
I don't even like seafood boiled, but because it's expensive, I probably order that for lunch later. So anyway, Daniel, Leighton said earlier that he believes that he has arrived. Do you believe that as well?
I don't need to believe it. It's a fact. If you even look at the bigger context, aside from 1996 and 2012, his performance would have guaranteed him a gold and a silver at any major championships. 1964 is not an ordinary run by any stretch of the imagination. I think that puts him maybe top 12, top 13 of all time, and he's obviously our third fastest Jamaican. So to do it at such a young age, but not only that, to do it in this type of field, I know that we've said it already, but you're going up against maybe the second best 200-meter runner of all time in Noah Lyles. You're going up against, let's see, Tobago, who we saw what he did last year in the Olympic final, and Kenny Bednarek, who has proven over the last 3-4 years that he is a major competitor when it comes to the 200. So if you take everything into consideration, this is an amazing performance. And if he continues to develop in the right way, if he avoids any major injuries, then, we probably won't even be talking about just a gold medal, but we'll be talking about how fast can he go. Really impressive, and he deserves a lot of credit for his performance.
What it also speaks to, I think, is just how good Shashika Osborne is as a coach. She's remember last year Bryan Levell was 19.97 and
before national championships, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
10 low.
Yeah. Right. And in a year, she's taken him from being a middling sprinter to an elite sprinter. 9.82, I think he's in 9 shape now. And 19.6 twice this year, 19.69, 19.64. He's elite right now. So the work that she's done with him in 2 years since he left Edwin Allen just tells you about her credentials as a coach. And I think as long as he remains with her, I believe he will continue to rise because she quietly does her work and she doesn't make much noise. She just does what she does and she's getting the results. We've seen it with Bryan Levell, Delano Kennedy, and you have to wonder what she'll do.
Candice McLeod wasn't bad.
Yeah,
coming back from
Candice
surgery
coming back
as
from
well.
surgery as well.
Yeah.
To end
Barely
the season at
missed.
51-8. So you're looking at a woman who is quietly developing her own little niche as one of Jamaica's best coaches as well.
Trish, talk to me about her in particular. Just inform the public as to who Shashika Osborne is.
So for the the Jamaicans, them from Montego Bay, go get hyped now, you know.
Yeah.
She's from Montego Bay. Went to Montego Bay High School.
High school.
Then went to University of Technology. Understudy to Stephen Francis. So a lot of whenever the athletes were recruited back then, helping everybody to get settled and registered in school, etc. She took care of all of that. Whenever training sessions, she was like, you know of Paul Francis, Lloyd Clark, who's a part of the assistant coaches, but she was also there. She very reliable. She was like the mother of the team, including overseeing everybody. And that was, Bridget Foster Hilton, Asafa Powell, who was world record holder once, Nesta Carter, Michael Fred. She helped that
Simpson.
boat to really float well and stay a sail. And I think that, people sometimes are in environments where they can learn, but do they really learn? And I'm happy to see that, one, she graduated with her degree in teaching.
Teaching?
She's in
done
education.
accounts,
She's an educator, one of the better accounts teacher on the island. Started teaching a bit at Papine while she was also coaching there. That's how discovered Candice McLeod,
And
Tajay Gale, and Tiffany
Right.
James Rose.
Right.
So again, she's no stranger to the big stage of athletes and the environment and what is required to get superstars. Because she has stepped out now on her own, I think, as a professional coach, persons were maybe tentative following what would have happened, when they heard about the demands. She would have maybe made of Elaine Thompson era. But again, just to add to even that, when at MVP Track Club and Elaine sustained that injury, she too was one of the persons, closely monitoring Elaine. So she was no stranger to that injury and knowing how to deal with it. And I think as a result, she was able to get Elaine into the position in which she did. It's just really unfortunate, the falling out that took place between both. And again, like I said, just the discovering of Tiffany Rose, that was the first Jamaican to go on to have won at the World
Under 20
World Under
Championship.
20, in the 400 meters. She discovered her. The same for Tajay Gale, Candice McLeod, all hailing from Papine High School. So that's pretty much in summary of who she is. And I think Leighton said it best. Quiet storm. She also was at Wilma's Boys.
Yeah.
And that's when she left from Wilma's Boys.
Well
So
done,
no,
yeah.
and
Okay.
she
Got
guided
it.
Gary Card a bit as well.
And something significant as well is that she's a student of the sport.
Yes.
She studies it.
Yeah.
She does an amazing amount of research. She just doesn't depend on whatever coaching acumen she might have or whatever she's learned. She's always trying to improve. And that's why I think, she's been able to achieve this success so early in her individual career as a coach, because she constantly tries to learn new things. She's always experimenting with new methodologies. She's always learning about new methodologies as well. So she's.
You also spoke about, Trish, that she's also quite strict as well.
No, strict is, you have some teachers who are just strict, like they don't waver who they are. She's that kind of person. So even for us as adults, very respectful, of course, towards us. And because of that respect she gave off, she received it. So up to now, you find, even whenever her former students and Candice McLeod and, as a grown woman, Tajay Gale, when they're addressing her, sometimes they say Miss. They're not saying Shaniki. Yeah. They're not saying that. And again, even past athletes, whenever they see her, we used to call her a little youth because she was so strict with us. But again, it's really out of respect. And to be the result Stephen Francis has been able to get consistently for the last almost 3-4 decades we're heading.
3. Yeah.
3 decades. It's because of a lot of his bark. Sometimes the bites match it, sometimes it doesn't. But again, to get results, remember, not because they're grown men and women, you have to reel them in. They have to stand, you have to help them to stand their ground to get the results. It's not, sometimes some things cannot be negotiated. And I think, because of that, when I spoke with her and Bryan, when I did a quick interview with them last year at the National Stadium, she said, he's not hard to work with because he's willing to learn. He's willing to learn, and he chose her. She didn't choose him to coach,
Yeah, he
He chose her. He said, I want you to coach me. Because again, she would have made national team with these selected as juniors. So they're familiar with her game.
Right.
She know to guide him as a professional. It's a gamble. But then I think both are now.
It's
would have
paying off.
walked away.
Yeah.
Like
Trish,
who of the last laugh?
Trish, I'm going to stick with you because now it's an interesting time for Levell's career. 2 more years until the next World Championships, of course. Next year is a quiet year. Relatively quiet year. Do you think that it's now the beginning of a 2-year cycle that will be going through Shashika Osborne's mind, as well as how to implement that cycle for Levell to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think, for her, again, why I know things will be okay if, again, we have to factor injuries. It's the steal of joy. It can rob you of so many things. And I think that without the major injuries, once, he's fully settled and they look at the calendar for next year, because that's important once you look at that calendar. And I think there on out, they will decide, all right, so there comes the World Championships, 2027, the Olympic Games in LA, 2028. What follows that? So we have to look at the cycle. For some, you use a 2-year cycle. Some can go beyond based on his age. He's 21 years old. I think he will turn 22 later on next year. Next year, he will turn 22 years old. So I think that, it's just a matter of assessing the calendar and looking at where he is. Is he not, has he surpassed the expectations of what we had for year 2? So they will factor those in. And I'm not concerned about how she'll be able to manage that.
Yeah, because you're going to have to tweak the program anyway, because one of the things that people are not aware of, you tweak your program every 2 years or thereabout, because once an athlete gets his or her body gets used to the program, it plateaus. You don't get an improvement. So she's going to have to look at what areas that he needs to work on, what areas does he need to improve upon. Obviously, he needs to get stronger, because that's what made the difference between him being a gold medalist today and a bronze medalist. His strength in the last 20, 30 meters is not where it's going to be, or it should be in another couple of years. Maybe some mechanics work in terms of improving his efficiency, in terms of his sprinting. All little tweaks that we'll make to ensure that he continues to improve. And, I think there's no better person to be able to do that but her, honestly.
Daniel, let's talk about Shericka Jackson, because she was our other medalist on the day, picking up bronze in the women's 200 meters, 22.18 seconds, her time in the end. I want to know your thoughts on her picking up the bronze, as well as the time that she clocked in the final.
I think it was a creditable performance and a decent time as well. I thought that compared to her semi-final yesterday, her start wasn't as great. But I still believe that she should walk away feeling that she did enough. We obviously saw what Amy Hunt did. I think at about 130, she was in 6th, and then she just had that great last 70. So, she was never going to catch Jefferson Wood, and we saw the form that she was in. Yeah. But I think just using context, what you've been through, not just 2024, but this season, you haven't hit the marks like we know that she could. She is, at one point, she was a walking 21 second runner. So to come back this year, to be able to finish just outside the medals in the 100 and to come here and get bronze, I think she should take a lot of heart in it and use that to fuel her to get back to her best. This is a great platform, and a bronze medal, she shouldn't be ashamed of it at all.
Trish, let me ask you something. Did you notice that Shericka's cadence changed down the straight?
And I think I saw it a bit this season, and I'm not sure if, again, remember when we spoke about it, oblique Seville, and athletes coming back from injury, there's that minor scare or tentativeness, for a better word, of how I now open up or execute. Usually whenever she would hit the straightaway, we saw the strides open up nicely. Not so much this season, and I'm not sure, if it's something having to do with the injuries that she would have, or the injury she sustained last season.
Yeah, but in the final though, like about, I don't know, 140, 150, her stride pattern changed. It's like she almost missed a rhythm, like something.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's like a
Misstep.
or something, but it cost her a few fractions, which is why I think Amy Hunt caught her. I'm hoping it's not a cramp or something that will prevent her from running the relays, but I have to watch it again because I looked at it twice and I saw the same thing twice. So probably now that I'm away from it for a couple of hours, I'll look back at it again and see if there is something specific there. But it looks like her cadence changed a lot.
But at the very end, you saw the expression on her face. It was good to see her smiling somewhat, even if it was a wry smile. That she felt that she was almost there for the silver. You got that impression that she knew she was close, and probably picking up on what you said, that she was possibly out of rhythm in the final stretch.
Yeah, I think something changed. I'm hoping that it's not an injury because she may have felt a cramp and then backed off a little bit. I tried to readjust her stride pattern. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess eventually, if anything, we'll hear. But it seemed to me that something changed in her stride because she was comfortably in second.
Yeah, she was.
And then something changed. And it looked as if, I don't know how to explain it really, but it looked as if something changed with her stride frequency and her cadence in general that then saw her speed cut.
She took a shorter stride and then had a longer stride.
See, something like that. I have to watch it again and look at the detail. But it looked as if something's definitely changed with her stride pattern going into the final 60 meters of the race.
How does she? What does she take from these championships, though, Trish, as she moves on? Because, of course, she has a spectacular background. But and I'm going to say settle for the bronze. Forgive me, Trishana. But how does she move on from here?
You know what? Coming back, remember, for example, when Johan Blake got that injury that was really career-ending.
Yeah.
He decided that I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep running for the most part, which I think, at some point in time, he will walk away from the sport. But athletes battle with several things. So, for example, people say, oh, why he not retire yet? Why she not retire yet? It's not as easy. It sounds easy, right? And I always say to people, there are a lot of people working in business places that need to retire. But yet them still hold on to it. Because them find it hard to go home. Yes or no?
True.
No, it's the same thing with athletes. Whenever you become injured, you now start to weigh, pending the magnitude of that injury. Now, Shericka has always been dominant since her days at Very Technical, going over to the MVP track club and wanting to do the 100 and the 200. And Fernand said, no, you have to give me some 400 first to get stronger, blah, blah, blah. She was on the podium. She became a force in the sprint double. Now, having to pull out of both of those events last year, mentally, I'm not asking, mentally, that was a lot for an athlete to take. Then she returned this year, started her season, not looking how we are used to her looking at her best.
I'm missing
the critics started.
I'm missing the 4 first meets of our season as well.
Exactly. The critics started and they were not kind. They thought she was finished. That was the end of her. She would not be able to do this. And again, we can sit here and say they shouldn't be paying attention to that, but they're humans. They do see it. A lot of that dampened the smile, as well as working your way through all that you're going through. And she has spoken about it, about the mental toughness and the mental battle with having to deal with, the injuries and, pushing myself, getting back into the rhythm of things. It's like when I get sick, a report, for example, when Leighton caught COVID, for example, and people we know who maybe have had a stroke. You have to work your way back. Way back. It's like doing therapy of getting the hands to move, the foot to move, how to talk. It's a process. We can sit here because sometimes we're not got a training session. The mental fortitude, like, will I be able to not just do it, but the best of me. No athlete want to be competing. You see, I never want to come to 2017, but he did. And he walked away with the medal, but that's not him. That even more reason he would never come back. Because I'm not going to be walking away, being beaten like that. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, for example, is different because she felt robbed of the opportunity last year, right? So she came back this year. So like I said, for me with Shericka, I think that, once she will assess the injuries that she had and where she is now, if she's able to get over those and go again for the major cycles in 2027 and 28, we have to wait and see. But if it's something that is really tough and can be a problem, for example, like Sanya Richards-Ross, she didn't want to walk away from the sport. That toe injury would not have left her alone. So she had to hang her spikes up. Is it those kind of injuries that it's always going to be a bother and I cannot be my best?
Yeah,
those are the assessments
and
going forward.
when you're injured to the point where you're not able to compete, your body eventually starts to break down. I mean, inactivity because you can't train the way you used to train. Your body begins to regress. It doesn't stay at that elite level. Anybody who knows anything about exercise will tell you that if you're used to being in the gym 7 or 5 days a week for 2-3 years, and then you get injured and you miss a month, going back is like you're starting over again. Now imagine you having to miss almost an entire half a season because of injury. It's going to take a while for you to get back to that elite level. It's not just about getting fit.
Right,
It's
because
about
they're obviously still fit.
Yeah.
They still beat me and you.
Yeah, it's just about getting back to that elite level. It takes time. So this season was maybe the first step in Shericka's getting back to the elite level where she's accustomed to, which I'm thinking could happen by next year once she remains healthy and she doesn't have any other setbacks. 2026 is a good thing. This next year is a major year where she can take that year, build towards 2027 and probably get back to the elite level because she'll be what? She'll be 33 by then, which she'll still be in her relative prime, but certainly get back close to where she used to be.
Daniel, I mean, I don't want to be flippant about the situation because, of course, we know that athletes are human and, they sometimes take a lot of things personally, as we've seen in the last few weeks with a few of our very own athletes. But do you think that athletes on a whole don't necessarily help their cause when responding to certain criticism? Because I think criticism is amplified depending on how they react to the initial criticism. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the main issue when it comes to athletes and criticism, especially on social media, is that because they get a lot of validation from it, they will always go back to check. So when that validation turns into criticism, whether fair or unfair, they take it to heart because, they took the validation to heart. So it's a tough switch to make sometimes. And, it's difficult to tell them to, well, not to tell them, but it's difficult for them to stay off whether social media.
But it's not just social media though, is it, Daniel?
No,
because
yeah,
they might be listening to you now, this very comment, and probably take it personal.
Which is social media.
Yeah, but here's the thing. One of the things that I've always been befuddled by is, especially with Jamaican track and field athletes, is that if they're ailing, something is wrong with them, it's a secret. So when you're underperforming, then John Public thinks you are done or you're on the way out. When you look at how US athletes or British athletes function, I use those examples because they are the ones that I'm very much aware of. If they're hurt, they put out a statement, I am carrying an injury. I am not at my best. I am withdrawing from this meet because I'm carrying this injury. So when they see them again next, they're coming back from an injury. So the criticism is not going to be as harsh. Exactly. As if because John Public does not know, they are seeing you thinking you are healthy.
Yeah.
And then they use that to benchmark you and say, last year you run 10.6, I know you run 11 flat. Good again. If you know, as a member, because your fans are engaged with your performances. So if they know, they're likely to be more empathetic about what your situation is. Because Kelly Hodgkinson, for example, when she picked up a hamstring injury last year, she put out a statement carrying a hamstring injury. She did knee surgery. She put out a statement, I did knee surgery.
Rojas as well.
Yeah. but in this country, there's this thing where the athlete is hurt and it's a state secret. I'm like, why? Because the people who you are expecting to support you need to know it's not like a privacy issue. If you're not healthy, you're just not healthy.
Yeah.
So when they're out there functioning and they're not 100%, and then somebody sees you underperform, of course you're going to be critical.
Well, LeBron James does it all the time, even to the point where it annoys some of us when he says, in the NBA final, I twisted my middle finger.
Yeah,
or
but
something
he's
like
doing after the fact sometimes. But I think to head off the criticism, put out a simple statement, which is why I think it's so essential, for example.
I think though it's how we were culturalized. As
I know it's a
people, how we
culture.
were brought up.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, a lot of how, not just our track athletes, just in general, how we are as people. And a lot of who are nowadays parents, for example, Leighton have what do you call him again, Daniel? Gen Alpha, Gen Z, whatever.
Yeah.
They can't take their approach. Like Leighton can't treat him like he would have treated if he was back then. So I'm saying to say, you find a little bit of that might be shifting, I think, with new athletes going forward. I'm hoping. Because how we were brought up, and everything ever talk. You don't need to know your business. And I think it is so deep within that even when you become a professional athlete, you don't know how to express yourself and say I'm not well.
But you're supposed to be a little bit personable, aren't you?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Don. Being professional means that you have an audience. You have an obligation to that audience.
Exactly.
So if they are supporting you, they have a right in many instances to know how well you're doing because they are investing in your performance. So if you're not telling people, look, and it's not a secret. I mean, if you hurt, you're hurt.
Right.
And it's obvious. But not everybody's going to assume that because you're underperforming means that you're injured. It just might mean that you are not living up to expectations or whatever it is. Because, the public is fickle.
Yeah.
So if you pick up like an example, I'm trying to remember who did it recently. I don't remember the athlete, but they picked up an injury. Oh,
Jamaica?
No.
Oh.
Serena Mayela from France, a sprint hurdler.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Ultimate
including
fast.
me, were talking about she being among the mix for the medalists of the World Championship. She puts out a statement. Jasmine Camacho Quinn put out a statement. I am not going to be at the World Championships this year because I'm carrying an injury. I picked up an injury, and this is what the injury is.
Gabby as well.
And because I am Gabby put out again about her Achilles injury, that takes the pressure off of them, and it then gives the public that information so they can weigh performances and weigh absences with the proper context.
I mean, what I will say, and what you guys are saying are correct, but I do believe that some Jamaicans are very unreasonable. Because, for example, if we use the Johan Blake, we knew that Johan Blake had probably a life-threatening injury or a career-ending injury.
Yeah, 2014.
But still, they were very critical of him. If you think about the years when Asafa picked up injuries, and up to this point, when you pull up in a race, people saying, "Oh, I'm doing Asafa." I mean, as much as athletes can be more forthright with information, I think that some Jamaicans, you'll never be able to please them, which is why I think that you probably should block it out altogether, both the validation and the criticism, because you don't want to feed into one because it means that you're going to feed into the other. So don't feed into it any at all. Focus on what your coach tells you, your circle, and that's it.
But when was
regardless
the
of-
last time you see like an athlete do a sit-down interview just expressing themselves and what they're going through?
But
Like we
before we
rarely
ev-
see that.
Before we even get to about the sitting down, because I won't get into that because until I'm in a position where if I request an interview and I don't get it, because if an athlete is to watch this and say, "Oh, think they're going to say, but Trishana, you didn't approach me," because oftentimes than none they will say yes, maybe based on the time frame. But just say regarding Daniel, about putting out the information and the backlash you will receive regardless. We are journalists. Whatever we put out, people are going to backlash right either way, but the information is there. So for me, again, I understand about going to the internet for validation, and then when the critics come out and them know say they did injure them, still a got thing there. All of that is fine, but at least the information is there.
Yeah.
What you choose to do with it and how you seek to savor it, that's entirely up to you. But you put out the information.
Let me give an example of what Daniel said about the unreasonable nature of some of the. I remember I was in Megamart one day, and somebody said to me, "Why doesn't Johan Blake retire?" And I'm like, two things. One, this is what he does for a living. So that's one. Two, I said, did you know that in 2014 when he tore his hamstring, the muscle came clean off the bone and they had to reattach it and have it regrafted onto the bone so that he's able to function. The fact that he came back and competed
It's a miracle
in
in and of
itself,
itself.
a victory.
Yeah.
Because Irina Prevalova, who used to be an elite sprinter back with Merlin autism, had a similar injury and she came back around the 400-meter hurdles because she was not able to be an effective sprinter anymore. That Johan Blake came back and ran 985 and run 9 sub-10s is itself a miraculous thing. And it speaks to his resilience as an athlete. So you was telling him that he needs to retire because he's not bringing you the entertainment and the
gold medals.
and the gold medals that you expect of him. You have to be reasonable to understand this is what is happening to him. And he said to me, I did not know about the injury. And I said, yeah, but it wasn't a hamstring, just a pull. It was a tear that ripped the muscle completely off the bone.
Yeah.
And then he said, no, I understand. And I said, yeah, because no need for read.
Well, let's move on now and let's talk about Jordan Scott Daniel. I'm coming to you. He finished 5th in the men's triple jump. Wasn't altogether surprising, I don't think.
It just wasn't his day. I think the 14.2 that he did was on his 3rd jump, and you could kind of see him get confidence from that. But I think by the time that happened, the other 3 were getting into their rhythm. But I don't think you can be too disappointed with what has happened. He's had a good year. Knowing that he is now our flag bearer in the event, I think he takes a lot of confidence in that. It's not like he lost to, just marginal or by 17-1 or anything like that. Those were 17-4 and up, which
1791-1.
Yeah, on the very final jump. So I think that, you can't be too disappointed. I think just going forward, he will just need more competition, high-level competition, to see how best he can approach certain things, because I think even his when he got to his 2nd jump, sometimes it just wasn't as powerful as it could be, which we saw on the circuit. But I think that he should still feel good, and we will hope that he'll be able to keep this momentum up until 2027.
He had a big jump on his final jump, but it was a foul.
It
was a foul.
Yeah.
He said afterwards that he was having some issues with the approach. Like, so it's something that he was working on actually leading up to the World Championships. So I think that problem was still with him in the finals, and it cost him, because I think, as I said before, I thought if he's going to be on the podium, he would need to have exceeded his PB this season, which is 17:52.
Yeah.
Had he done that, he would have been on the podium. Unfortunately, he didn't get there.
Because when you look at
of big personalities like Pedro Pichardo.
Picardo was brilliant. And I think I agree with Leighton regarding getting at your best, because I think before they got to the last 2 jumps, when you look at I think it was like 1 centimeter separating the the bronze medal position from the 5th place, which was Jordan. But again, what did I tell you about the field events from the start? 1 big jump and you can be on the podium or off, because the silver medalist, he went from being in fifth
he was behind
position. And
Jordan.
On that final jump, there he was in the gold medal position. Luckily for Picardo of Portugal, he had 1 more, and then that 1 big more. Initially, he was stressed out when he saw that, like, no, I forgot to do more work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the body language gave off. But when you look at the competition again and the series from the men, it was really exciting, and I'm really happy for one that he got to the final. You have to start somewhere, and getting to the final for me is an indication that he's not far away from the rest of the world in the event.
Shine Salmon finishing 8th in the 400-meter hurdles.
Yeah,
Leighton.
she's had her battles with injury this
Yeah.
season, so I'm not really surprised. And of course, the pace 51, 54-1. It was probably just a bridge too far for her. But she, as she said afterwards, she still thinks she's among the best in the world. And being in the final,
She is, yeah.
So the reality is for her to get back to the thing I worry about the Jamaican 400-meter hurdle runners, the female women, I should say not female, but women, is that the world has moved on now from the 53s.
52.
We've seen Jasmine Jones today running 52.08, Sydney McLaughlin 50.3, Femke Ball 51.5 and 50.95. We see Anna Cockrell 51.8. You're looking at the event has moved on, but I don't think the Jamaican women have moved on since of course, Rochelle Clayton ran 52.51 just a couple of seasons ago. That time today would not have medaled. I think. I'm trying to remember what was
In
it.
third,
What was that? What was the third place time today?
I remember.
Yeah, but the thing is, the I don't see the progress that's being made. Enough. Yeah, because we see, of course, Anjanette Knight. She was 53 all season long. 53 is not going to get you on the podium anywhere anymore. Sydney McLaughlin has dragged that event into a new realm now, and I think it's kind of disappointing. I understand why it happens because I know for the past few years, Jenny Russell has been injured a lot. Rochelle Clayton has had her issues with injury. Cheyenne Salmon has had her issues with injury. And Anjanette Knight has had her issues with, I think, a proper race plan. And I think maybe some things need to change in how they prepare for these championships. But for right now, they're not making the progress to stay abreast with what's happening in the event. And I think maybe some adjustments need to be made to get them to that level where they'll be competitive at this event.
When you look at, like you said, the world, I had said it years ago, the minute I saw before Sydney got to 50 seconds in the event. You have to pay close attention to the gap. Because whenever a gap is created a lot of times in sports,
it's huge.
It can become huge, and we are way behind. Salmon getting to the final is good, but then when you assess how she got there, that is also up for discussion. And the world, and when you look at, again, Knight, Genevieve Russell, Rochelle Clayton, Cheyenne Salmon, who follows? That's 4 women. Genevieve Russell is aging. She has been around for such a long time. The same thing for Rochelle Clayton. Cheyenne Salmon, I think, might be the youngest, and Anjanette Knight. So we're now down to 2 women, but the world has gone way past our 2 women who would have age in their favor based on the cycle that we have coming up with major championships. So again, this is how we have to look and assess it. So what we're now looking to hope for, right, is who will come through to join them maybe next year
or the next
and the
year
next
after
2
that.
years.
Yeah.
No, when that happens, the world done gone leave us. So we're going to be playing catch up.
Yeah.
And again, the gap keeps widening, leave us. So
Remember now, 52.42 in 2009 was the second fastest time in history. No Jamaican except Rochelle Clayton has come close to that time since that time. That's what, 15 years ago now?
15.
Right? So you're looking at a situation where that event in Jamaica has stalled because Dion Hemmings ran 52.86 in 1996.
when she won.
Million ran 52.42 in 2009.
Ristanana Tracy.
Ristanana Tracy was 53s. But, and of course, Rochelle Clayton 52.51. That was set, 3-4 years ago. The thing is this. In that time, we haven't really moved in that event, but the world has moved significantly. 50 point, no. So what used to be the second fastest time in the world is now 10th or 11th. And our women have not moved along with the pace.
It's like Warhol moving the men's 400-meter hurdles. It was initially 48, 47 that were finishing on the podiums. 46 could have gotten you a bronze. If you're not running 46, 45...
Running
And not even
45.
he's keeping up with that time as well. I'm going to end with Natoya Gultapin. Daniel, not making it through to the women's 800-meter final.
Look, I don't think I'm a qualified coach. I don't recall doing any certification.
Duly noted.
But I don't think that race strategy helped her. After the first 400, she moved into that top two. I don't know if she thought that she wouldn't be able to catch up to the field or she didn't trust her endurance. But if you look at her last 50, 60, she faded very badly. But she still finished under 2 minutes. So we obviously know her personal best is 155, and you know
155.96,
she can do 157 consistently. But I just think that the strategy let her down, and I think maybe it was a fear of the field. But I don't think she can be overly disappointed knowing the injuries that she's had to battle through this year.
Especially this season. She spent half of the season recovering from injury.
Yeah.
Right.
So the IT band issue, I think I mentioned it before, where there's this band of muscle between your hip and your torso. And for the much of the season, she's had that problem where she had a lot of numbness in the leg and she was unable to have that mobility that's required. And coming into the championships, she told me that she was healthy, but you get the sense that she wasn't as healthy as she would have liked to be. So her bowling on 159. And the other thing about Natoya, I don't think she or Coach Mark Elliott has ever worked out a race plan that works for her. Sometimes she tries to run from the front and then she gets run down. Sometimes she tries to run from the back, but she doesn't have the pace to catch up with the leaders. So I don't know if there's a race strategy in between that they could actually work on that becomes more consistent for her, that would prove to be successful for her.
Well, we got to go. That's been a wrap on what has been an okay. What's the word?
Amazing.
Amazing?
No,
Jeez.
Daniel said it was very good.
It was very good.
That's what Daniel said.
It was all right. We won a couple of bronze
No,
medals.
more than all right.
But it was incredible.
It was more than all right.
Yes.
But it wasn't incredible. Jeez, I need a dictionary. On behalf of the hardworking production team, remember to leave your comments in the comment section, of course, and remember to share the podcast to your family and friends. This has been another edition of the Sports Club podcast. Donald Oliver, thanks. Leighton, Trish, Danielle again. We're doing it tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're taking Oliver tomorrow.
Yeah, penultimate day.
Ooh, yeah.
Counting down.
All right, we're gonna go. See you later.